Folks, these condos will cost you way more. I'll explain why and then get into the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending November 13th, 2024. There's a ton of condos, there's thousands of condos out there available for sale. Many, the vast majority are newer type of condos. I don't necessarily mean, they're 1 or 2 years old, but under 5 years, under 6, 7 is still a newer type of condo. Fortunately, many of the buyers, the vast majority of buyers, and I'm using my own personal experience working with condo buyers, the vast majority of condo buyers prefer to buy a newer type of condo. And that's kind of where their thought process goes when they think, want to buy a condo. They're thinking they want to buy a newer condo. And as we start looking at the vast amount of condos that are for sale, they quickly realize, man, this square footage doesn't really give you a lot of space. And the layout is kind of not so conducive to actually living here comfortably. And at some point, whether it's by me making a suggestion or one of their friends making a suggestion, somebody will say, hey, go to an older building. The square footage is much larger. The layouts are better. Why don't you do that? Go to an older building. And it's not always perceived well by these buyers looking to buy in a newer building. But their thought goes to, but aren't the maintenance fees so high in an older building? They'll say that. And when you compare and you look, 2-bedroom unit newer, 2-bedroom unit older, yes, the maintenance fees are so much higher, most cases in the older building. And when you start talking to people about this, they'll say, oh yeah, these older buildings, they got this problem and that problem, and there's just so much older, it costs more to maintain. I have found that that's not necessarily the case. If something goes wrong in an older building, for sure there's going to be an expense there. And yeah, it can and may affect the maintenance prices, the maintenance fees every month. But don't make a mistake here thinking that these newer buildings, nothing happens. There are lots of issues with some of these newer buildings where it's a new building and all of a sudden there's a flood and 5 floors, 10 floors are flooded, and that's got to be fixed. And you wonder, but this is a new building. How can that happen? It happens. I mean, if you've bought a new car, there's people that'll say, the minute I bought my car, it's got to be in the shop, and every few months it's in the shop and it's a brand new car. They don't get it. But these things happen. So the fact that something can go wrong with an older building, it can also go wrong with a newer building. And yes, that will affect the maintenance fees. So let's just assume that both newer building and older building are managed properly. There's no real significant maintenance mechanical issues that are going to cause the maintenance fees to go up. You realize that if the older building hires, say, cleaners to clean the hallways and to maintain the cleanliness of the building, they're paying the same fee that the newer buildings pay because you're paying labor at today's prices. If there's landscaping to be done in a building, there's no difference what a newer building hires a landscape company versus the older building. So the actual cost to maintain, maintenance, landscaping, whatever else needs to be done, pool cleaning, whatever the case is, those are the same fees. Here's the real reason. Assuming they're managed properly, the real reason the older buildings just seem almost always to have a much higher maintenance fees. And it's a real simple reason. Their square footage. You're buying a 2-bedroom, 700 square feet, 800 square feet, 900 square feet in a newer building. In an older building, you're getting a 2-bedroom and it's 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet. And maintenance fees are a cost per square foot. You take that cost times the square footage. So yeah, you want an older building because you want more space. All other things being equal, your maintenance fees are going to be much higher, sometimes double, just because you're getting double the square footage. Maintenance fees range from, on the low end, 60 cents per square foot to 90, $1 per square foot. So do the math. You get 1,200 square foot at $1 per square foot. That's $1,200 a month. That's what you're paying versus, the maintenance fees are so much lower in the newer building. Yes, but you're only getting 700 square feet or 600 square feet. That's the difference. So look, I'm not telling you you should buy in the older building, you should buy in the newer building. I've taken people to both, and sometimes they switch and they go the other way, and sometimes they say, no, I prefer this or I prefer that. And that's just personal preference. This was all about explaining why, in many cases, maintenance fees are higher in the older building. And again, it's just because you're getting more square footage. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, really simple. There's a link up here to my calendar. Click on that, or there's another one in the description. You click on that, you book a time that's convenient for you, and then we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the condo numbers for the GTA. Here we go, folks. We're going to take a real close look at condos across the GTA. We're going to break it down specifically with condos just in the city of Toronto. Condos, these are condo apartments, not condo townhouses. Condo apartments for York region and condo apartments for Peel region. Now, if we look at the chart I have here, these are average sold prices for the last 3 months or so. And if I put a line here, everything going this way is really the fall market. So just after September 4th, we're saying, okay, this is the fall market. And when we look at prices kind of at the beginning of the fall market and we compare to where we are now, when we look at the city of Toronto, 714, 699, 704, 729, there's maybe an argument that, say, condo prices across the city of Toronto have gone up, but it's barely noticeable when we're looking at this chart. For York region, condo prices have basically stayed the same from when we started to where we are now. And for Peel, condo prices looks like they've come down actually. So Toronto stayed the same, York region, Toronto actually maybe gone up a little bit. York region pretty much the same. Peel region, prices have come down when it comes to condos. Let's take a closer look. We're going to start off with the city of Toronto. For week ending November 13th, 208 condo apartments were sold. 27 of those sold at $1 million or more. Now 208 is actually pretty consistent. It seems like a normal kind of week over the fall market. In some areas, especially in the freehold market, we're seeing sales trending down, taper down. Not for condos. It's pretty consistent still. 208 were sold. Average sold price sitting at $725. When we look at it from here, it kind of looks like, especially when we look at not so much starting the fall, but if we look at August, we've trended up from the August numbers where we were at, say, 650 or so. 1,000 was about the average sold price. Now we're 720, 725. Compared to last year, 725 is 3% higher year over year. The median price of 630 is also 3% higher. And when we look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, both for average and median, kind of does show prices trending up slightly over the course of 3 months. 208 were sold. When we look at the sales, the orange versus the blue, which were last year's sales for the same week, for the fall market, we are outselling the pace we were at last year when it came to sales. So we're selling more this year over the fall market. Sold at list price or more, we're pretty consistent around 24, 25%. We're sitting at 24% for this week. Listings, they shot up September 11th to almost 1,100. They've been coming down, but for halfway through October, they're pretty consistent around the 670, 680 new condo listings every week. So for 4 or 5 weeks or so, pretty consistent, just over 600. Active listings is trending down, not so aggressive, but we've got fewer condos that, look, there's still lots, but it's just fewer than what we had before. And months of inventory also over the last 4 weeks, pretty consistent. 5.6 is where we are this week. We were at 6 months of inventory, but right now we're at 5.6 months of inventory. That's for the whole city as an average. If we break down condos into 9 different sections, well, there's different things that we're going to see. So if we look at, let's say we look at Scarborough, for example, and we look at a percentage of sales versus active listings. Well, for Scarborough, 4.4% of all active listings sold. Let's turn our eye right to downtown Toronto. 53 were sold. There's 1,774 available for sale. So 53 sold out of 1,774 active listings. Only 3% sold. Etobicoke, 5.1% sold. Willowdale, Bayview, so Uptown, 5.2% sold. Midtown, 4.8% sold. But again, downtown, only 3% of the condos that are available for sale sold. This is, if you're looking to buy and sell, and this is really valuable to know these kinds of percentages. It can really give you an insight into pricing, or how long is your property maybe going to be on the market. It really helps you to see the different experiences in the different parts of the city, because sometimes people talk and say, yeah, you know, my cousin sold a place over there, and it could be the other side of town. They sold in 2 days. And then you're on the market and you're wondering what's going on. It's a whole different market many times in these different neighborhoods. Let's look at York Region condos. 31 of those condos were sold for week ending November 13th. One of those was at $1 million or more. Kind of looks like sales are starting to come down. Average sold price looks like it's coming down over the last 4 weeks. We're now at $657,000. But compared to when we started the fall market, where it's pretty similar actually. Compared to last year, $657,000, 7% lower. The median price is 6% lower. When we look a little bit closer at the 4-week moving average, kind of looks like both average and median are down slightly over the last 3 months. 31 were sold, 19% sold at list price or more, which is kind of normal right now for York Region. 118 were listed, 943 are available for sale. And since first or second week of September, active listings has barely moved. It's gone up and down, but not by much. So there are 943 available for sale. Months of inventory is starting to climb up. We're now at 7 months of inventory. Here's Peel Region. 22 apartments were sold, condo apartments, and none of them sold at $1 million or more. Average sold price does look like it's coming down. We're now sitting at $573,000. 573 is 10% lower year over year. The median price is 12% lower. 22 were sold. The percentage selling at list price or more looks like it's increasing actually, which is strange that it's increasing when prices seem to be coming down. Listings are trending down. Active listings are actually up slightly. Not too many areas or property types where we can say that active listings is increasing. In most cases, it's coming down, but active listings are up slightly for Peel region condos, and months of inventory is way up there. We're at 9.4 months of inventory. Previous to that, we're at 8.2 and then 8.9, so way up there. Definitely a buyer's market when it comes to condos in Peel region. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. No matter how you look at it, if you summarize each region, pretty much a buyer's market when it comes to condo apartments. You may experience a balanced market in some of the buildings, and I'm kind of motioning these condos. Each building kind of has its own market, so you gotta look at that when you're making a decision whether you're selling or you're buying. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.